Hola amigos, and welcome to session 12 of the AuthorTube Writing Conference, sponsored by Fictionary, story editing software for writers. If you check the description below, you'll see a link to follow to get a free month of Fictionary for all attendees at the conference. My name is Emma Bennet. I'm a UK-based author and freelance editor, and I write contemporary romance and the occasional children's picture book. Today I'm going to be talking about how to perfect your author brand. And I dare anyone to down a shot every time I say brand during this presentation. You won't last 5 minutes before you're under the table. Well, first of all, what do I mean by author brand? Your author brand is how you present yourself as an author. It's how you sell yourself to your readers. Essentially, an author brand is usually also your personal brand. It's what people think of when they hear your name. Personalbrands.com has a great definition of what a personal brand is. A personal brand is a widely recognized and largely uniform perception or impression of an individual based on their experience, expertise, competencies, actions and/or achievements within a community, industry, or the marketplace at large. They then go on to define personal branding as the conscious and unintentional effort to create and influence public perception of an individual by positioning themselves as an authority in their industry, elevating their credibility and differentiating themselves from the competition, to ultimately advance their career, increase their circle of influence, and have a larger impact. So that all sounds like a pretty good idea, right? But it can be absolutely terrifying to think of starting a personal brand from the ground up, especially if you're a brand new author and you have absolutely nothing on social media, you don't have a website, a newsletter, you don't even have a book cover yet. In essence, you're a writer, you just want to write. A lot of us don't want to be dealing with this side of the industry at all, but it's something that nowadays we have to a certain extent. Some of us decide to do it more than others. Some of us are crazy enough to start a YouTube channel, but we do all have to put ourselves out there, and a personal brand is incredibly important. You probably don't want your whole life on the internet, and maybe you even write under a pen name, but a strong author brand is essential for success in today's competitive publishing industry. It helps you stand out from the crowd, build a loyal reader base, and attract the attention of literary agents, publishers, and media. A well-crafted author brand enhances your credibility, establishes your authority, and opens doors to various opportunities. Your author brand is how you portray yourself to the world. It's your values, it's your voice, it's your style. All of these things comprise your author brand, and this will help you deepen your connection with your readers. Connecting with you via your brand is what keeps readers loyal and wanting to know your updates and ultimately buy your books. Your brand as an author is something that can make you stand out in a crowded market from other authors. We are all completely unique. Even if we write in similar genres, it is the unique you that will make readers want to connect with you and your writing. Remember, you want readers to form a bond with you and know what to expect from you and your books. So now we know how important an author brand is. Just how do we go about building one? The most important thing for an author to know when they're putting together their brand is who their readers are. It's these readers you need to focus on, not yourself. They are your target audience. Don't think, who am I, as much as who are my readers. When your potential readers first encounter you, they have to immediately understand what you can do for them. It's about drawing out what's special about you that connects with your writing. You're not writing books, making shorts, taking photos and designing book covers for yourself. You're doing it for your readers. So unless you have a good idea who those readers are, you're going to struggle to put together a brand people want to connect with. So some questions that you might like to ask yourself are, who are you and how can you help your readers and other writers? Who is your audience and how are you going to connect with them? And how can you engage with these people? Remember, not everybody is your target audience for your brand, and not everyone will like you and will want to follow you and want to buy your books. And that is just absolutely fine and something that we have to accept. Once you know who your readers are, there are even more questions that you should be asking yourself. What is the purpose of your brand? What are you trying to do here? Are you trying to sell books? Are you trying to get people to follow you on social media? Are you trying to get people to learn writing from you? Are you trying to get them to sign up to your newsletter or to your YouTube channel? What are you actually trying to do? Then what do you want to share with the people engaging with you? Do you want to share your life? Do you want to share your books? Do you want to share videos? Do you want to share book recommendations? What are you happy with sharing? Then how are you going to engage with or help others? You need to be giving back to your community. It can't just be all about you. You can even just provide your followers with some amusing memes, but you could give tips, recommendations, you could inspire them. There are all sorts of different things that you could do to bring value. Now that you have a clear idea of your audience and how to interact with them, it's time to start building your brand. When beginning to set up an author brand, begin by writing an author bio. This is absolutely the first step and must not be missed. It's another part of knowing who you are. Your author bio is in fact the gateway to your brand. You need to craft a compelling, concise and authentic, above all, bio that showcases your personality and your writing expertise. You could highlight relevant achievements and credentials and experiences that add credibility and intrigue to your brand. You need to make it reader-centric and relatable, fostering a sense of connection with your audience. The basis of your brand is your website, and that comes next. You need to build a community for your brand that you control. Social media is brilliant. We all love it. Well, maybe some of us love it more than others, but you get what I mean. But if all of your followers are on TikTok only, for example, and TikTok either gets shut down or starts charging huge subscriptions to creators on there, you're going to be in the poop. If you've got your own website, you completely control that domain and what goes on it, and you can have a newsletter and you can have a blog attached to that, and it's a great way for people to be able to keep in touch with you and you to be able to let people know exactly what you want them to know about you. Next comes social media itself. Choose the social media channels you're happy to be active on. It's better to consistently post good content on one platform than to try to do them all and fail. So many people try to do this. They put a post here, they put a post here, they put a post here, and it just doesn't work because nobody knows where to find you and there's no consistency to it. My favourite social media platform is Instagram, which is handy as that happens to be where a lot of my readers are. I know that about my readers. I know that most of my readers do not go on TikTok, actually. It tends to be Instagram and after that, Facebook. If you're comfortable showing your face on social media, have a good headshot of yourself done so that you can use it as a profile picture. This helps people to feel connected to you. If you don't feel comfortable showing your face, maybe have an illustration done or a professional logo. But please, whatever you do, don't use a picture of your cat or your book. This will not help people to connect with you and want to stay connected with you. A tagline or slogan can also be a great way to brand yourself. It can let people know what you create very quickly. So for example, if you're a romance author, something like happy ever afters forever after. I don't know, I just came up with that on the top of my head, but you could pop that over the top of your website. It's quite nice, it's quite catchy, and it helps people not only remember who you are, but they're also very aware of what you actually write, what you are providing. So how do you decide what to actually post on social media so that you know you're staying true to your brand? Well, start by considering what you love about your own favourite authors and what draws you to them. Take a look at any authors you follow on social media and try to think of reasons why you feel connected to them because of what they post. What is it about their content or the way their website or their newsletter looks or engages you that makes you feel connected? All of that is part of their author brand. Everyone's brand is going to be different based on who you are. So while you can certainly get inspiration from other people, for your brand to be authentic, it's going to be different. So the next step is to brainstorm what is unique about you. What is your USP, your unique selling proposition? What will make you stand out? What do your readers want from the author of their books? What books do they read and what content are they consuming on social media? I know that most of my books are read in ebook format, for example, and that a lot of my readers are on Instagram rather than Twitter. I also know that most of my readers are female, that they like animals, because my pictures of my dogs always do very, very well when I put them on social media. They're very voracious readers, romance readers usually are, so they love book recommendations as well. It can be useful to ask questions at this point, like what makes you different, special and memorable? How can you stand out? You need to give people a reason to want to interact with you. You are different to everyone else, so make sure that people know that you're different. I'm special, I guess, because I like to bake and because I have two very beautiful dogs. That makes me stand out from people who don't bake and who don't have two very beautiful dogs. What do you want to be known for as a writer is another really important question to ask yourself. And what are some words that a reader might use to describe you and your genre? Also, what themes and topics do you explore in your work is something else that you could consider. Quite a lot of my books are set in the British countryside, for example, so that's definitely something, as I've said, that I draw upon when I'm using images and stuff for my brand. Most of all, share content that you feel would be helpful or engaging for your readers. My audience on social media is a mixture of writers and readers, so I mix in some writing advice along with author life stuff and book recommendations, and the occasional hilarious meme. One issue that I have found that I have is that I do have two quite different audiences. I have my audience on YouTube, which are mainly writers of all different genres who come to my channel for the live writing streams and also for kind of writing tips and also author life. Whereas on most other social media, the vast majority of my audience are readers, so my content is a little bit different for those. So you will find that my YouTube channel isn't quite as pink and girly as the rest of my social media, just because that's not what fits for that element of my brand. So I guess I have almost a sub-brand for my YouTube at the moment, but I am working on incorporating them together a little bit more. What about the actual look of your brand? At its core, your personal brand is you and how you present yourself to the world. Colours, themes and fonts add to this, but you need to know who you are first. So while visual branding isn't the most important part of branding, it can definitely help to build your brand. Choose a few colours and fonts which represent your brand and use them throughout your posts, thumbnails and even book covers. This helps your audience to find you and know your content. I tend to stick to pale pinks, blues and greys and feminine fonts. I'm very girly. My books are very girly, what can I say? This wouldn't work for a horror writer or a fantasy writer, for example. So in the case of our very own SD Houston, Shannon is running a Kickstarter at the moment, the link to which will be down in the description below. And she has had some amazing graphics made up for that of her new book cover, which you can see here. It is obviously fantasy, isn't it? It's completely spot on for that genre. You've got lots of silver, you've got lots of blue, you've got the swirly writing. You would never mistake this book for anything other than fantasy. Compare this then to a graphic made for me by my publisher's social media manager. Yeah, it's girly, isn't it? You've got lots of soft colours, you've got lots of pinks, you've got my very, very pretty colours. You're not going to mistake this for sci-fi. Then let's have a look at these covers. These are covers from my friend R.C. Scott. So here's the dark to my light. Everything about them, the wording, the fonts, the colours used, screams that he writes horror. He's basically the anti-Emma. I had to change the background colour of this slide because his image looked ridiculous on pink. There are two very important things to remember when posting as an author on social media. Firstly, your author brand is your business. It's not for catching up with family or old friends or airing your political views. You must always be professional, kind and polite. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have any views. I'm not saying that you shouldn't catch up with people. Just do this separately. Maybe have a private social media account that you kind of keep for your actual friends and to chat about stuff that maybe isn't what you want as part of your brand. The second thing is branding is about connecting with people and forming relationships. It's letting people know who you are. Don't just spam people about your book or your newsletter or whatever product you have. You have to give them something back. It's really important with your brand to be growing organically and ethically. So you can buy followers. Of course, it's possible to buy followers. You can buy YouTube subs and you can buy newsletter subscribers, but this is not going to help you long term. These are not going to be the people that are going to be excited about your next book, that are going to be supporting your Kickstarter campaign, who are going to continually watch your shorts and your videos. Another thing that isn't going to help you is making fake claims or saying that you're an expert in something when you're actually not. And especially in the case of claiming expertise that you don't have, this really isn't necessary nowadays. A lot of writers actually make very good and very authentic content by sharing their author journey. This can absolutely be part of your author brand. You don't have to be an expert at all. You're learning as you go along, and then you are sharing that newly found knowledge with your audience. People absolutely love that. Another big no-no is ranting. It's good to share struggles. It really is. It makes you more authentic. Nobody believes people whose lives come across as absolutely perfect. I get that, but you don't want to complain about every little thing. Nobody needs to have you read out every single rejection letter you receive, for example. There are so many things that happen to us as writers that are really frustrating. But if an agent doesn't get back to you, for example, don't even be tempted to put that on the internet. It's just going to make you sound unprofessional and it's going to mess up your reputation. What you need to do is get yourself a really good group of writer friends, and then you've got people that you can just whinge to about, and they will understand. And they'll have their own stories and they will commiserate, and that is a much better way to get these things off of your chest. Consistency is absolutely key when it comes to your author brand, and there are different elements to it. Firstly, people want dependable and consistent content. Be realistic about how much you can do so that people know they can rely on you. You also need to be consistent with how you present yourself. Don't keep changing your banners. The design of your website or your headshot is confusing for people who follow you. The same applies for writing different genres of books. If you write a sweet romance and then a thriller, for example, you might want to have a pen name and 2 separate brands, as it's going to be really hard to market these books together. Having a consistent genre will help grow your brand because it will attract the type of readers who are interested in that kind of content. It will keep them coming back because they know you write the genre they enjoy reading. Think also about the style of content you share, because consistency in style of content is also important, as is your brand voice. People should know what to expect from you. So you've developed your brand and you've got your website up and running. You're posting relevant, engaging and worthwhile content on the social media platforms your readers use. How else can you build on your brand? Collaborate and network is one way. Collaboration and networking can expand your reach and enhance your brand. You can collaborate with other authors, influencers and industry professionals to tap into their audiences and cross-promote. Attend writing conferences, book festivals and online events to connect with fellow writers, agents and publishers. Another thing that's really important to do is engaging with your readers. Building a strong author brand involves engaging with your readership. You should encourage reader feedback, respond to comments and messages whenever you can, and create a sense of community with everyone in this together. Take advantage of tools at your disposal like author newsletters and book clubs to foster meaningful connections and turn readers into loyal fans. This way you can learn what your readers enjoy and what they want you to post, and therefore your social media reach will get bigger and your books will sell more. Leverage book launches and marketing. Yes, I use the word leverage in my presentation. I am such a professional. A well-executed book launch is a powerful opportunity to strengthen your author brand. Plan a strategic launch that aligns with your brand identity and targets your ideal readers. Utilize various marketing channels such as social media, book trailers, blog tours, and local events to create buzz and generate excitement about your book. There are loads of different suggestions of things that you can do in various videos on AuthorTube. So kind of just have a look around and get some ideas from other authors who have done this before. The final thing that you could do is seek media exposure. It shouldn't come as a surprise to hear that media exposure can significantly boost your author brand. Seek opportunities for interviews, guest blogging, and podcast appearances to share your story expertise and insights. Leverage media coverage to enhance your credibility and reach a wider audience. The final point I wanted to leave you with today is, I think, a really important one. And that is that your author brand is just the parts of you and your life that you choose and are willing to share, that you're happy for the world to see. You have got to be comfortable with what you are showing your readers and be aware that you're bound to experience some negativity at some point. Yes, it's very important to come across as authentic so people believe they're seeing the real you. But all content is curated to a certain extent. We choose what of ourselves and our platform we want people to see. It's a persona, just a piece of us. Who would actually want to share all of themselves online anyway? I don't want to share my family, for example, and it's fine. It's completely normal and healthy to hold stuff back. I'm sure that you all have plenty of things that you would not want to share with the world. I know there's lots of us that wouldn't be happy to have a camera put in our face if we didn't have makeup on, for example. Some people are happy to have that done. It's all down to what your individual boundaries are, and it's very important that you are aware of those boundaries and that you stick to them for your own mental well-being. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. And if you've got any questions, then now will be the time to put them down in the chat for me to answer. If you could put a Q at the beginning of the question so that it's easier for me to find, that would be absolutely fantastic. And I will see you in real time in just a second. Bye for now. Hi guys, it's real time Emma here. Can you just let me know that you can all see and hear me okay? Everything seems to be working all right my end, but if I can just have a thumbs up in the chat, that would be amazing and I'd really appreciate it. I've actually got some questions for you guys while I'm working my way through the questions that were asked during that presentation. So I will put the first one down at the bottom of the screen. Oh, thank you for letting me know, Joanne, that you can see and hear me. Brilliant. Okay, well, I hope that you all enjoyed that and that you got something from it. Let's have a look. There were lots of questions and I was very clever. I've been trained well by Margaret and I managed to star them. Okay, so Margaret asked the first question. Does Emma have 3 words that describe her author brand? And if so, what are they? Yes, I do. And that's actually a question that I was going to ask everybody in the chat for 3 words that describe their author brand. So you guys can all be thinking about that. Probably the 3 words that would describe mine is authentic. You guys know that I mess up all the time and I never try to hide it. It's me. I'm the most human of human. I'm also positive. I think with my author brand, I try to encourage people and radiate positivity. And it's also very feminine as well. That's just part of me and it's something that comes across in my brand. And it's quite a big part of my brand, I guess. And Margaret says, and do you recommend this as a guiding sort of organizing principle? Yes, I think it's a very good start. You have to be aware of who you are, as I said in my talk, and part of that is knowing how you are going to put yourself out there on social media and in your books and things like that, and working out some words that kind of define your brand can be really, really useful. I'll just put that banner back up again for a minute for anybody who didn't get a chance to see it. So I'm asking, do you have an author brand yourself, or do you consider that you don't have one yet? Is it something that you're wanting to work towards? Right, and then where are we? Okay, so Lauren said, I feel like new writers feel like they have to do all the things. Absolutely, yeah. Everybody new to it, and I think some oldies as well, believe that they have to be on every social media, and they have to have a newsletter out every couple of weeks, and they have to update their blog every week and make all the TikToks and everything, and nobody can manage it all and do writing. That's why the really big authors have the people who do that for them, because they don't have time to. They're busy writing. Richard asked, can you make up the bio? It is made up. It's a persona that we're putting across, but it should be part of you. It should have elements of you. It's just the elements that you want to highlight as parts of your brand. And Richard asks, should your author brand be your name or your series name? What if you write something else? I have a friend who had his handle as his series stroke world name, which might actually be limiting. Yes, that is limiting. I would definitely go with your name or the name that you choose to go with as an author rather than a series of books, because you don't know what you're going to write next. You might very well write that series and it doesn't actually do very well, but then you bring out another book and it does fantastically. And that's kind of what you want to be known for in the end. Martin asks, should you change your name if search results bring up a more famous wrestler? This is in reference to the fact that there is a very famous wrestler apparently called Richard Holiday, who is also on YouTube. And yes, you should. I'm sorry, Richard. Yeah, he shows up first in the searches. It's really hard to find your channel. You might not actually want to change your author name, but at least on YouTube, I would say that you should alter your channel name a bit so that it's easier to find you. AF Stewart, I believe it's Anita, says, my tagline is all things dark and stabby. I love that. I absolutely love that. That gets across so much about your brand, about what you write. Brilliant. Margaret, what is your goal in writing sprints? How does that fit in with your author brand? I started doing writing sprints during NaNoWriMo last November because I'm not very good at the basic command for a writer, sit and stay. And so it was a way to get my bum on the chair for 3 hours, and I basically had to stay there because there were people joining me. But it ended up having a completely different goal after a little while, which was maintaining this wonderful community that had come together. It was lovely, particularly during Nano, but so many of them have returned and still come to my lives. But we had such a lovely little group checking in on each other every day and supporting each other. And yeah, I loved it. And I still do like doing the sprints. Easy Graphics Panda says, how many covers did your publishers test out before settling on the ones that they have now? And will they change the covers in the future, or is this it till the end of time? So my publishers, I know that they did try out various things, but I don't actually get to see that. What they do is they send me what they would like to go with, and they ask my opinion. So for example, with one of the books, I said that I didn't like the writing, and I felt that it needed to be more centralized, kind of little things like that I've changed, but I've never felt that I needed to change much with their designs. But when I first signed with them, I had to fill in so many questionnaires about me, about my books, and they sent the design team all the synopses and blurbs. They asked what themes were in my books, all kinds of stuff, so that the design team had a lot of information that they were working on. and they did a fantastic job. And Martin asks, if you don't like postmen, should you mention it on Twitter? What could go wrong? The thing is, I feel there should be a disclaimer for this talk. It's your author brand, it's your career, it's your books. Say what you want, okay? Free speech is really, really, really important. The suggestions I am making are just that, and these are things which are going to mean that you are not a derisive figure. Not everybody's going to like you, of course they're not, but you're also not going to be alienating people by saying things which could potentially upset them, anger them, whatever. So yeah, say what you like. There we go. Christina says, I write historical and contemporary romance. Should I create 2 pen names / brands? It really depends. It depends on whether the feel of the writing, I would say, is similar in your historicals and contemporary romances. It also depends how well known your name and your brand is. When I was speaking to Virginia Heath, who writes Regency romances, she was saying that she is going to be doing some contemporary romances very soon. And I asked if she was going to have a different pen name, and she's not. She's going to be sticking with Virginia Heath unless her publisher suggests that she comes up with another pen name. I think I'm planning to write a historical. I'm going to be doing a Regency, and I think I will probably stick with Emma Bennet for that, but I'm not absolutely set on that. I will take advice from publisher, agents, anyone who will give me advice. I would definitely take advice on that nearer the time, because definitely not everybody who reads contemporary romance wants to read a historical, and vice versa. So it might be better in a way to have 2 kind of interconnected brands, if that makes sense. Martin says, unlike some, I'm not the best-selling author. Is it worth filling bio space by presenting myself simply as a selling author instead? Can if you want. Like I say, do what you want. Yeah. Mama Mackie says, but everyone loved watching me feed my rejection letters to my goats. That really, really made me laugh. That's a good take on it. I mean, I know that you didn't actually do it because you wouldn't feed them paper, but that would be a really funny take on it. That is a way to kind of get across the issues that you're having, but to make light of it. And I really like that. Richard says, how do you choose a pen name? It needs to be something which sounds like it goes with your genre, for want of a better explanation. So I went with Emma Bennet because it's a feminine name, it's quite a pretty name. It's quite old-fashioned as well. And my books are sweet, contemporary romance. They're not racy or raunchy or anything. So I wanted that kind of sweet, homely sort of name. And it's got kind of Jane Austen sort of connotations. That's why I went with that. A good idea would be to go and check out a load of books in the genre that you are going to be writing in and see what the authors are called in that genre. Do they tend to go by their initials and their surname, or do they tend to use their first name and their surname? Just see what works for that genre, and then see if you can find something that will, work with it as well. Richard says, why should you not use a pen name? So I chose to use a pen name just because I also write children's books. And I actually thought that it was going to be the children's books, which I would be doing more of. So I wanted to use my real name for that. And I wanted to have a pen name for my romances. And that was the only reason for it. There are many, many reasons to use a pen name. You might want to remain anonymous because you might not want certain people reading what you have written, or you might just not want, publicity in general. It might not be anything to do with what you've actually written. You just might not want to show your face and for people to know who you are. Also, if you write more than one genre and you don't want to link them together, like me with the children's books and the picture books. That's another reason. It can get complicated if you have a few pen names and people might not realize that the author that they really like, who writes this thing, is also the author that writes this other thing that they might like. They might not connect it. And the other thing is, it can be really, really difficult to be dealing with separate pen names and different brands, especially when you get to more than two. That's like a lot of social media time, and making sure that you're using the right persona, I guess, would be how I would look at that. But yeah, so I think it's individual choice. It works for some people. Right, now let's go back to the main chat and see if we have any answers. You guys have been chatty. Look how far back we're going. Here we go. Right. Margaret says, hashtag Queen of Books you've never heard of. Does that count? That completely counts as part of your brand. And that is awesome. Yeah, I absolutely love that. And use it all the time, always. Make the most of that. I mean, I would have that stuck over everything if I was you, because so many people on TikTok in particular are reading exactly the same books all the time. You know, they're all reading Colleen Hoover and who's the other one? Jenkins Reid and Court of Thorns and Roses. So that really makes you stand out, and I really, really love it. Lauren says, working on a website but started a newsletter. Awesome. Yes, Richard is the greatest believer in newsletters. Make sure that you are signed up to his if you are not already. It's very, very good. Oh, and so is Martin's. I'm supposed to always say that Martin's is really good as well, and it is. It had like a list of cats last time. Was it last time or the time before? But the cats. It's brilliant. And Andy says, how do you manage shifting focus halfway through a brand? That is tricky. You don't want to just do a huge brand change suddenly, I would say, because you do risk alienating all of the people that are already following you. So what I would suggest is that you work out where you are now and you work out where you want to be, and then you work out the steps that you need to take to get to that, hopefully without alienating the people that you've already got. Mama Maggie says, my B and motto is my brand. I should probably rebrand. It's been the same for 4 years. But if that's what people know you for, then that might work. You know, that might be cool. Fiona says, I'm working on an author brand. I have logos and colors and fonts, but I'm still figuring out the website and social media aspects of connecting with people. Awesome. What I would say is, it's not going to be perfect. Whatever you do is not going to be perfect, but it can be fiddled with. It can be changed. You know, for example, if I decided that I was going to make my YouTube channel branding more consistent with the rest of my branding, I could go through the thumbnails at a later date. I could change the thumbnails, for example. There's always things that you can do, but you want to get started. You want to get stuff out there. And there might be something that you think you're going to go with your brand, but actually it doesn't work. It might be that you thought that the fact that you keep cacti will be a big part of your brand. You will be the cacti writer and it'll be brilliant. But then for whatever reason, everybody loves cacti, but your readers don't. It doesn't resonate with them. You might then decide that you need to change it. So I really wouldn't worry about trying to get it perfect. It's better to kind of just get going and try things out. Joanne says, I feel like I do have an author brand. It's authentic culinary writer author. Yes, you definitely do. Your Instagram is looking beautiful. Joshua, hi Joshua, says, hello Emma, I don't have an author brand. I'm working on writing my first book. I'm thinking about doing that when my book writing gets further along. Yes. I definitely didn't think about my author brand enough before releasing my first book. It was only when I signed with my publisher, I self-published the first book, and then they took that on with my second book, and it was only at that point that I properly kind of got the author brand together. But I feel it was a bit easier for me because I was using a pen name from the very beginning, so it was like a persona that was there. I always say that Emma is nicer than the real me in many ways. She's definitely sweeter. She's very understanding, and she gets more birthday messages every year on Facebook. Emma gets more than the real me, and that's kind of frustrating. Felicia says, I don't yet have an author brand. The only consistent thing about me is that I'm inconsistent. There, you're working on it. Margaret says, my tagline is writer, reader, shocking consumer of tea. Does that count? Absolutely. Yeah, that's brilliant. Love it. And I know about you drinking tea because of that. And it's kind of a thing. I'm like, oh yeah, Margaret drinks her tea. I like that about you. I love the fact that you always have a cup of tea and that you take it very seriously. That's cool. Anita says, I'm a dark, savvy geek. That's my brand. Fantastic. And Fiona says 3 words, coffee, cauldron, and cats. Brilliant. Mama Maggie says, do you think an author needs more than one brand if they are a genre slut? Yes. Yeah, you do. I mean, it depends how closely linked they are. Like with the question about the historical and the contemporary romance, it's both still romance. But for example, if you were going to have like straight up sci-fi and contemporary thriller or something like that, yeah, you would want to have separate brands for those. It's going to be confusing for readers. You're going to have readers like just not feeling that they can engage with you because half the stuff you post is not going to be potentially stuff that they're interested in. Fiona says, there is a religious writer under my real name, so I am writing under pen name since my books are not religious and family counselling. Yeah, absolutely. That can be frustrating, isn't it, when your name's already gone. Oh, Shannon reached her Kickstarter goal. That's fantastic. Brilliant. I'll have to message her after this to congratulate her. Fiona says, I love all things caffeine, all things magic and fantasy, and all things feline. So if my readers want to know me as a person, that sums it up. Brilliant. And Sam, if you like what you're seeing and learning. Oh, sorry, that wasn't a comment. That was a link. Apologies. But thank you very much for sharing the link. Joanne says, I feel I need to rethink my author brand a bit. I really love what you were doing with your Instagram. And Richard says, yes to free speech. I just learned to keep my spicy tweets on a separate personal profile for my author stuff now. Yeah, absolutely. How come I don't have that profile, though? I want to follow that. That sounds fun. But yeah, you know, you will never, ever, ever catch me talking about politics or religion or anything like that on my kind of official social media. I do have views about a lot of things, but I just don't show them on things like that. Jacob, yeah. Emma Bennet is really made for Regency, though. I know, yeah. I know. I don't know what to do. I was thinking of Emily Woodhouse if I was going to go for another pen name. And Christina talking about her different romances. Voice is similar, but heat levels are different. I think if I do a heat warning, it might work out okay. It might do, but you do have people who are really uncomfortable reading spicy stuff. So I don't know. I would check out other authors and see if there are other authors who've done that and how successful it's been. That's what I would do. Anita says, I'm considering using my full name for the cozy paranormal mystery I'm writing. Cool. And Martin, a rule of thumb I was told was that if the books would be in the same end of the bookshop, use the same name. Yes, but heat levels is a good point because that is something that can really divide people. So that is something that might be worth thinking about. Lauren says, should you use your real name if you have published under a pen name already? If it's a different genre, you could, like, I used my real name after I'd used my pen name. You, like I say, this is just advice on what I believe works, but you can do whatever you want. If you have published under a pen name before and you regret it and you want to use your real name, then use your real name. You can do a big song and dance about it. Actually, that could be really good on social media. You could like reveal the real you and stuff. You could have some real fun with that. And Rich has been learning the alphabet. So proud of you. Awesome. Okay, so I had another question for you guys. We've got a few more minutes and I want to make the most of it. So my next question for you, and this will probably be the last one, is what genre do you write and where do you think your readers hang out on social media? So as I said in my talk, most of my readers are on Instagram and then on Facebook. Thankfully, not that many of them tend to be on TikTok. I say thankfully because I cannot do TikTok. I'm too old for TikTok. Yeah, I can't do all those lip syncs and dances and silly stuff like that. I do like the pimple popping though. Some of them are on Twitter as well, but really predominantly I found that they are on Instagram, which fantastic. That's my favorite social media. I think it's really pretty. I like the fact that it's kind of quite positive on there. You don't have all the arguments that there are on Twitter and on Facebook. So that works out nicely for me. Right, where were we in the chats? Mama Maggie said, my motto, be better, not bitter, and is the background story thread in all my works. That is great. I like that. I like that a lot. Emmeline would have. No. And as Mama Maggie points out, always Google the prospective author name. It'd be really, really annoying if you didn't and then you went and set up a website and stuff and it was already taken. And Richard says, can you give names to all your items of stationery or just your pens? It's just your pens. Apparently I did a burn. I'm sorry, whoever that was. I didn't mean it. I probably did, actually. Right, so Margaret says, here's Vic, and I still don't really know about even between Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Seems to depend more on indie author following, who likes to share in what style. Yeah, it can definitely. I think Twitter tends to have more indie authors, definitely more of the serious types as well. But I'm scared that because some of yours is YA, I'm scared that I'm gonna say they might be on TikTok. Christina says Facebook for me almost exclusively. Oh, interesting, because Facebook users tend to be older, don't they? So they tend to be kind of 30 plus, definitely. So I quite like Facebook. It's handy with the groups and things. Mama Maggie says, I like the character names from Her Perfect Hero for a pen name for you. Darcy E. Bronte or Bronte Emma Darcy. Yes, that's my favorite book that I've written so far, I think. Actually, I've got one coming out next year, which might be my favorite because it's got a ballet dancer. Who knows? Fiona says, fantasy and various subgenres of fantasy. I think most readers might be on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. I would agree. Anita says, I write horror and darker fantasy. Facebook seems to be best for me. Yeah. Again, it's slightly older crowd with horror, I find. That's a good point from Christina to Margaret. She says, make sure you look for reader groups of historical fiction that allow writers to join too. Cool. Even I know that flossing is outdated. Even me. Like when Joey and Friends decided to have the stage name Joseph Stalin. That was lovely. Yeah, individual, absolutely. Yeah, I know. We're the same age. Yeah, but no, what I mean is that, social media up until very recently was a young person's game, and now everybody's on it, but older people do tend to be on Facebook, and I believe if you look at the analytics, that counts as 30 plus. You don't get a lot of teenagers on Facebook now, and we're also pushing them off Instagram, which can only be a good thing. Leave them TikTok and Snapchat. Historical fiction readers tend to be older. Yes. Part of the history. It's Sam, I'm much older than you. It's fine. Okay. Dabbing is so like 2018 or something. Okay, guys, brilliant. Thank you so much, Elaine, for putting up this link. So if you guys didn't know, there is a feedback form that you can fill out after watching all of the sessions this weekend to let everybody know what you think and whether the talks would be something that you would like to attend a similar presentation to it next year. Hopefully there will be another conference next year, so don't forget to do that. And it does mean that you get entered into a whole host of giveaways for loads and loads of prizes, which I believe are going to be drawn in the closing ceremony, which is in only a few hours, a couple of hours. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for coming and joining me today for my presentation, and especially thank you to my awesome moderators who kept everybody completely under control in the chat. And thank you to Shannon and to Margaret for organising this absolutely brilliant conference. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hopefully I will see some of you at the closing conference, which I am going to be a part of as well. So yeah, enjoy, and I will see you again very, very soon. Bye for now.